Hey guys, this is Will from Tested. I'm here at SCAA 2011. One of the hot trends in coffee in the last year has been manual pour-overs. We're talking about the V60s and the Chemexes and all that kind of stuff. The next step is automated pour-overs. I'm going to show you the Uber boiler right here, show you how it works and why I'm excited about it. Stay tuned. So I'm here with Paul Stack, the creator of the Uber boiler. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
So tell us a little bit about what makes the Uber boiler special and what it does, how it works, and why, you know, what people are going to get out of this when they go to cafes near them and find it, you know, to make their coffee.
Well, what the Uber boiler does very simply is it allows a barista to manage all of the key components of brewing coffee properly, or tea, or gourmet tea. So in other words, what you want is you want to be able to manage your coffee to water ratio, your grind, your temperature, your contact time, your turbulence. All of that is at the behest of a barista with the Uber boiler.
Versus using a kettle or something like that.
I mean, if they use a kettle and a grinder, they still have the control over those things, but they have less ability to be precise. So what this does is it allows the barista to have precise and repeatable. So it's because you can see what you're doing in terms of you can watch your time in terms of contact time. You can watch your temperature and choose to recreate that again, and you can obviously use your grinder to have the same setting, so you can create and recreate. And
you can get the exact water temperature that you want out of the spout and in the boiler, right?
Yeah. What happens is you've got what is really a classically simple in our world Marco boiler underneath, which works on a basis of it's got a set temperature.
Okay.
And that set temperature, I'm going to try and talk Fahrenheit, being a European. Let's say we've got 204 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So what that would normally do is it would cycle up and down above and below that point to the tune of around about maybe 2 degrees each side.
Okay.
Because what happens is when your thermistor, which reads the temperature, sees 204, it cuts off the element, but there's residual heat in that element which drives that temperature up a little bit.
Okay.
And when the temperature starts to drop back down below 204, it turns the element on, so you drop a little bit down before that kicks in.
So you have a kind of a sine wave.
Yeah, you've got this sine wave in general water boiler technology, that we do. What this does is that when you're in brew mode, is it cuts off any cold water intake, it cycles the water up to the group head, as we call it, or up to the dispense point.
Okay.
And at that dispense point, we're also measuring the temperature.
Okay.
So we're measuring the temperature just at the point where the water is being dispensed.
And then once you're ready to actually pour water into the coffee, what happens then?
Well, barista takes control. You've got a little wheel on the side, which is stolen from 1970s stereo aesthetics. And what that does, effectively, it gives you a strong or a slow flow rate. So the barista controls the flow rate as well.
Okay.
And that basically starts the flow. So you can have as slow or as fast a flow rate as you wish. And what that enables you to do is keep your temperature set it's actually within 0.1 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Oh, that's the precision you can get, which actually is more than anybody can ever discern in terms of their own palate.
Okay.
And also they're brewing into something which may be of varying temperature, so you're going to lose temperature in that anyway.
Right, as soon as the hot water hits the cold Chemex.
It's absolutely as much as you need, but I think people got excited about it because nobody was looking at that from a brewing temperature point of view.
Well, and it's always hard to know how hot the water is in the kettle and how much water there is in the kettle. So then the next thing that you've done is there's a scale underneath the group head.
Yeah, directly underneath the group head. If you equate it to, you talk about people with kettles, right? So what they tend to do is they weigh their beans, they grind them, and then they pour the water sometimes into a vessel on
That's what I do at home, yeah.
Right, okay, so therefore what this does is it's got a weighing scales directly below the dispense point.
Okay.
So what you're doing is your water temperature is going directly from the chosen temperature, so that's really your brew temperature, accepting losses within, be it a V60 or a Chemex, whatever.
Of course.
Directly on scales. So you can dispense the water and you can watch exactly how much is going in. So the weight of water can be managed, and then you get your extract mojo out, and you get your and you geek out in terms of measuring your extraction. And you even have a drain around the edges of the scale, right? Yeah, you can because you want to preheat everything, right? And also pre-rinse filters and stuff like that. As a workstation, you can rinse out your filter and you just throw it down the drain. So the weighing scales is actually a drain as well, because the big thing was about a workstation, so people can just engage with what they're doing with the customer if they need to, and get on with the job in hand.
So if you're an American, you want to try this out in your local cafe. This is for cafe use only, or at least so far. I think it's more of a cupping tool and a gourmet barista cafe as opposed to general cafe use. Okay. Because really it takes time to use this thing, and from a financial modeling point of view, cafes got to make money. So it will work for some cafes if they're in that space. They have to be in a kind of premium space, though. Space. Yep. Thanks so much, Paul. That was great. Thank you very much. Hey guys, it's Will from Tested. I'm here at SCAA 2011. We're talking to Bill Crossland about his new pour-over machine. Bill, what have you got here? This looks really cool.
Well, this is a pour-over machine that was developed from a few bar owners on the East Coast and in Seattle who wanted to automate the pour-over process.
Okay.
Just to get rid of the labor component when a bar was busy. Although these have never seen a commercial bar yet, there's some prototypes that we developed to really automate any manual brewing process, from Hario V60, B-House, Melita, Chemex, Drip Coffee, and even Press Pot.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about how does this work? Well, I mean, what exactly is the process? I know you have some interesting stuff going on.
So essentially, it's really a water delivery system. We've got a water boiler inside. There's a variable flow pump, so you can adjust water flow. There's a rotating water head, so you can position the water where you want it, or if it's in a spiral pattern, or pulse brew cycles, anything you want to do, essentially.
Oh, so you can get good coffee agitation, or none at all, depending on exactly what you want.
Exactly. So you get great coffee, water coverage over the coffee. You can adjust how close the coffee bed is to the water distribution system, so it doesn't disrupt the coffee if you don't want. It wets it perfectly. You can adjust the spray pattern on the tip itself by interchanging some tips from a spray pattern, laminar flow pattern, aerated pattern, whatever you want.
Awesome. And is this so? If I was going to put this in my home, can I plumb it into the water system, or?
Yeah, currently it's based only for a pour-over system for a water reservoir.
Okay.
That's because I use a variable flow pump, so you can get variable flow at the tip, so you can adjust the flow speed.
Okay.
When you connect it to the water supply, then we actually there's one flow of water, so it restricts one component right now.
So the water is either on or off if you plumb it into the system. But it looks like you have a big reservoir on the back.
Yeah, there's about a 3-liter reservoir on the back, so you just fill it up when it needs to be, and then it uses it as it goes.
And do you have a brew timer and stuff like that on the screen?
There's a brew timer. You can set your total brew time, your total brew volume of water, how much pre-wet you want, a pre-wet delay.
Oh wow.
Pulse brew cycles, how many cycles you want, how much water comes out for each cycle, how much time in between those cycles, and so forth. So it's pretty programmable right now.
Fantastic. When is this going to be out, and what are we going to have to pay for it?
I thought you weren't going to ask me that.
Oh, okay.
So right now these are prototypes we have just to test the market.
Okay.
And based on the response we got yesterday and this morning already, it seems like we might go get a production plan going the next month or so.
Fantastic. I can't wait to test this out. This looks great, Bill. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So I'm here with Ben Salinas from Luminaire, who's going to tell us a little bit about what makes the LB-1 special. What's going on with this machine, Ben?
Yeah, so we set out to build a machine that would allow baristas to really get the most out of their coffee, especially with pour-over. And pour-over right now is just exploding, and so we wanted to make sure that we had a machine that was like brew method agnostic, so you could go in, brew any type of coffee with it.
So whether you use a V60 or Chemex or even like press pots and AeroPresses and stuff like that.
Or the cone, for instance.
Okay. So what's going on inside? There's a lot of cool looking electronics in here. How does this work?
Yeah, so we're using an on-demand heater that we've designed that allows us to get water to whatever temperature you want in about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. So as a barista, I can come up to this and say, I want to brew some coffee at 199.5 Fahrenheit. Press go, brew a cup of coffee. Then maybe I'll bring a Kenyan in or some other coffee. And I can change the temperature for that individual coffee with really no wait time in between.
Oh, very cool. So literally a barista can go from one cup to the next cup to the next cup as fast as they can prepare the filters.
Yeah, there's no real wait time between water, and it also means because we're using on-demand heating, you don't actually ever run out of hot water. You don't have to worry, is this machine going to give me the water at the temperature I want? Just always does.
No boiler, no problems, right?
Exactly.
So what else is going on? You measure flow rate as well, so you can control the amount of water that comes into the, especially important when you're doing a pour over, you don't want to have too much water hitting at once.
Yeah, so we're also controlling the water in with the flow rate. So you can go in and say, I want 6 ounces of water over 45 seconds to really mimic what you can do with one of those Hario kettles or where you have the very controlled spout.
Right, a laminar flow.
Exactly, and then you can also go in and have it cut off after a certain volume, that sort of thing, so that you can get very consistent pours. Right now, a lot of people are brewing on scales just to be able to measure the amount of water they put through. We put that right in the machine so that the flow meter takes care of that for you.
So you don't actually need a scale underneath the spout. It just you have that information already. How does the spout mimic the motions that you can do with the actual pour-over kettle?
Sure. So in watching baristas work, we found that they were oftentimes using circular motions, or some people like pouring around the outside, some people pour down the middle. So what we did is we just made this flexible spout right here, which allows you to be able to really control it with your hand. In much of the same way, which allows you to go in and maybe start out with a circular pour and then walk away and leave it pouring down the center. It cuts itself off, so you don't have to be with the coffee the entire time.
So you're not taking barista skill out of the equation, you're just giving them better control over the flow rate and the temperature.
Right. Right now, if you really want to have a lot of control over your brewing process, you're going to sit there with a kettle, with a thermometer, and you're going to pour water from your hot water tower, then let it cool down for a while, and then that whole time you're pouring, the water's cooling down again. It's a really hard thing to do very well in a coffee shop setting. And a lot of the big name coffee shops are doing a great job of it, but we think that giving them an extra tool that will really allow them to get the most out of their coffees.
Very cool. So this is coming out later this year, and where will people be able to find it first?
We're talking with a lot of shops right now. We've been talking some with Elysian Coffee in Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Thanks, Ben.